Hi, it's Ev. Today I thought I would share with you how I study Korean. There's a lot of people that have done so on the internet, and so I thought I would just add my little bit of knowledge to what's publicly available. I know this kind of video is quite popular and a lot of people have already shared their method. However, I've never found anyone studying exactly the way I do it and using my methodology, or anyways, anyone that made a video about it. So I thought I would just share it with you. So maybe if you've been studying for a while and you're not finding you're improving so much, or you're just interested in finding new ways to study, then hopefully you'll find this video insightful. Before we get started, don't forget to leave a like to this video and subscribe to the channel, and also click the little bell icon. It's really appreciated. It helps the channel so much, especially right now. So yeah, let's get started. There's only one resource that I use and that I have found that works for me, and that resource is Korean Grammar in Use. I've found that a lot of resources explain grammar in way too many details. I don't need to know every use case of the grammar point. I just need to know what it means in general, because there are way too many nuances to Korean, and so especially in that language there's a lot of understanding that you'll gain as you learn more and as you can connect the dots between different topics. I found that the biggest problem with most resources available is that grammar points are explained in too many details, as if they don't really know how to get straight to the point. What I like about this series in particular is that if you take a grammar point like this one, Umyan, you're gonna see a couple of examples up front, and then you're gonna see one sentence to explain the whole grammar point, and also what it could be replaced with in a sentence, what would mean the same thing as using that grammar point. For example, in Umyeon's case, you could use 혹시 or even 만일 in your sentence structure instead of using Umyeon, and it would mean pretty much the same thing when trying to convey a supposition. What I also do like about this resource is that in the example sentences, they don't just give you 3 sentences that are exactly the same, but give you a few different use cases. I don't know, to me these example sentences teaches me way more about the grammar itself than a block of text, because I get to infer my own conclusions from these examples. And although I know that a few people don't like that, I think you learn better by experiencing something, and so by actually making my own conclusions and confirming whether or not it's true by consuming content, I do the little experience process, which helps me engrave the points in my head. Does it make sense? To me it does, but I'll leave it up to you to decide. So we've covered the resource, and I'll be honest, I have the book and I'll probably keep them for a while, but I don't actually use them that much. What I mean by that is I'll usually only read a grammar point once in my book. That is because even though I've graduated from university, I still don't know how to review. And so I don't understand how you learn stuff by just rereading or by looking at your notes. I've never once looked back at my notes. So I realized that this wasn't the best method for me. So what am I doing instead? This is my second point. I use Notion. So I'd like to give credits to the person who actually introduced me to using Notion in that way. And that's V at the Blonde Linguist. This her Instagram. Go visit it. She's amazing. She's so nice. She's such a nice friend. Yeah, there. Okay. So I don't like taking notes as I learn my grammar points because I will not refer back to them, but I still do need to be able to refer back to the grammar points in a way while I'm consuming content. So I use Notion. Why? It's really easy to use. I find that it's the easiest way to navigate through what you've learned. What I mean by that is that the toggle function lets you hide all the fluff that you don't need when searching for a grammar point. So if you take my page for example, you'll see that when I open it, you'll only see the grammar points listed one below the other. Where's the explanations? Where are the examples? Well, that's what you get when you click a toggle. So as soon as I click one grammar point, the explanation pops down and also the example pops down. The examples are also under their own toggle because I usually don't need to refer back to them. I still just like to keep them in case, but usually I just need a little refresher on the grammar point itself, and so yeah, I have a little definition. But if I do need to look at an example, it's right there. I can also click it. I'd say the only little homework that I do is in the example section, and so I'll usually include the examples that I can find in the book, but I still want to practice writing a little, so I'll force myself to create a few example sentences. But as I learn more and more, I want to make sure that my sentence building capabilities are improving, because I think it's easy to get back in the track of the 3-word sentences, or even worse in Korean, the 1-word sentences, where you just say, "Oh, 찾았어," or "배고파," or just, you know, you can speak with 1-word sentences in Korean and people will understand you in most cases. That's the only practice that I get. I know that this is something that I'm gonna have to work on at some point because I am planning on taking TOPIK. The next one, I don't know when that is, but TOPIK 2 requires a writing section, and I'm pretty sure that if I write an entire text in 3-word sentences, they're not gonna appreciate that. So that's to work on, but they're not gonna be as creative or as complicated, that's for sure. But at least it forces me to get out of the comfort zone a little, if we can really call it out of my comfort zone, because I'm still at home and talking to no one. So once everything's in motion, the bulk of my studying is done. I'm missing vocabulary. The big downfall of this series is that there's no vocabulary in it. They use a lot of words, but they don't teach you any, and that's where Anki comes in. This app's been gaining a lot of popularity lately, but I do know that people don't like it because of its interface. They think it's not as pretty as, let's say, Memrise or something of the like. But the one deck I've been using is the Evita deck. There's 6,000 words. I think it's all the words you need for TOPIK, like in general, for the listening and reading parts. And so Anki is pretty much my only consistent work in Korean. What I mean by that is that when I get into a period where I don't have as much time to sit down and study Korean, I will still do flashcards. So I've set my daily goal to be 10 words, and within a year, that's not that much. If I do 10 every day, I would only learn 3,650 words. It's not that much. It's only a little more than half of the 6,000 words. To me, that's too slow. And so I set up that limit to 10 just so that I don't have an excuse. But what ends up happening is that most days I do 20 or 30 or even 50 words, just because it doesn't take long to go through the 10 words and the reviews, as long as you keep up with it. So that's the big thing with Anki. You want to keep up with it. You want to do it every single day, because if you miss one day, you're gonna regret it the day after. I can promise you. If you're not into using Anki, you can also use Memrise and download some community-made decks. I know that when I was using the How to Study Korean website, there was a matching deck for each section on Memrise. So that can also be something to look into if the graphics of Anki really put you off of it. So at this point, I've talked about grammar and the words. But how do I put it all together? That's with input. I think just any input is perfect for you. Why? Because I'm not actually looking to understand everything, but I'm looking to recognize what I know. You might be thinking that there's no points to it if I don't actually understand what's happening, but the thing is, when you're watching a video, you can pretty much infer what's happening from what you're seeing. And so if I'm watching a drama, I can tell what's happening within the scene by looking at it. Yeah, if they're telling a secret to one another, I'm not gonna know what's going on if they're not explicitly doing an action. But it's okay to miss a few things in order to improve. And so what I'm doing is, as I'm watching the drama, I'm gonna try to recognize the patterns. I'm gonna try to recognize what I've learned. And so let's say, for example, a grammar pattern that I had never heard of before. I actually saw it in the book, 자마자. I had never heard it before. Then I learned it from the book, And as soon as I knew it existed, I started hearing it everywhere. I thought it was a really weird coincidence until I actually realized that I suddenly heard it because I knew it was existing. So a big problem in Korean, you might be able to relate to this, is that you don't really know when the words end. And that's why I use Korean subtitles when I watch content, because I find it a little hard to know when each word ends and each word begins. It's getting better now because I'm more used to it, but at the beginning it seems like everything is just one blurb, if it makes sense. A little like liaison in French. And so the reason why I try to keep up with the words so much is that I realized that in an ideal world, I would be learning new grammar points every day. I would be consuming content every day, but I know that this might not be feasible. And so by learning new words every day, I'm still improving my level on a daily basis. And then when I watch a video a few days later, I'll realize that I can actually understand a little more than I could last time I watched a video, just because I kept up with the words. They say that consistency is key, and it is key, but the way you apply this rule is really personal, and everybody is gonna find a way that's gonna be optimal for their own progress. If I had just made sure to spend at least 30 minutes every single day on Korean, I would be at a much higher level than I am currently. And this is the realization that I think I needed to be able to actually start working hard on it. So this is pretty much all I do to learn. I do follow a lot of idols and celebrities and just accounts in general on Instagram, just because I spend maybe a little too much time on that platform, and I figured if I'm gonna spend that much time, I might as well expose myself to Korean. So there. And as the weeks go by, I realized that I can actually understand more on the sentences, even when all I did was doing new flashcards every day. This video is going really all over the place, so I'm just gonna end it here because I've pretty much covered my entire technique. You know all my secrets. It's not really a secret, but for sure this is gonna change as I'm gonna start preparing for the TOEIC exam. But for now, I'm just trying to absorb as much as I can, and knowing that I have 3 weeks of Christmas holidays ahead of me, I know that I'm going to be spending most of my time just going through all these books and finishing them, just so I can know the grammar and just start consuming content even during the semester. I hope you found this video useful. I know I'm not doing anything that's really groundbreaking, but I've just never seen someone study that way. Usually people will do a lot of notes. I don't have a notebook. The closest thing that I have to a notebook is Notion, and you've seen what it looks like. There's almost nothing. And unlike a notebook, it takes me maybe 2 minutes to enter a grammar point into Notion, whereas it would take me 5 to 10 minutes to put in notes. So I just thought I would share my time efficient, lazy person way of studying Korean, since it's proven to be working quite well. And I hope you enjoyed. If you did, once again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, the notification. And if you're studying Korean, let me know what's your favorite method. Maybe there's something else that I should try. Maybe you want to try one of my methods. Let me know down below. And if there's any more content you'd like for me to post regarding learning Korean or languages in general, because I love learning languages so much. Oh my god, just let me know down below. And on that note, I'll talk to you soon.